Imagine this, a young woman completely deaf, races through darkening streets with a stalker closing in behind her. No phone, no voice. Every person she tries to ask for help only stares, unable to understand a single desperate sign. She is trapped in a world that can see fear, but cannot hear a cry. By the end of this story, a stranger in a quiet cafe changes everything. It is a crisp autumn evening in the market town of Ashbourne in Derbyshire. 24-year-old Alara Whitby clutches her shopping bag while a man in a charcoal hoodie follows 20 feet behind, as he has done for weeks. She left her phone at home for what was meant to be a quick errand. When she returned to the street, she saw him watching her. She walked faster. He followed. She could not shout or call anyone. A couple passed but could not read her signs and moved away in confusion. The man in the hoodie smiled under a street lamp, knowing she was running out of options. She rushed toward the high street, tried to get help from an older shopkeeper, and again was not understood. Tears blurred her vision while the man watched patiently. Then she noticed the warm light of the Lantern Cafe and hurried inside, hoping someone might know sign language. People stared, worried but unsure, as she moved desperately from table to table. No one understood. The door opened and the stalker entered. Panic surged. As she scanned the room again, she saw a man sitting with a little girl. His eyes showed understanding and calm. She signed to him for help. He answered in sign, telling her she was safe, asking her name, and inviting her to stay by his side. Relief nearly made her collapse. His name was Callum, and the child was his daughter Freya. He asked the staff to call the police and positioned himself to watch the door. While they waited, Alara signed an explanation of everything that had been happening and how the police had previously said they had no evidence. Callum reassured her. Freya watched curiously and learned that Alara spoke with her hands because she was deaf. The child promised to be brave and offered gentle comfort. When officers arrived, the stalker tried to leave, but they stopped him. Callum interpreted while they spoke. The man, Garrett Voss, already had a history of harassment. The officers explained that Alara had been very fortunate. As he was taken away, people in the cafe apologized, finally realizing what she had been trying to say. Alara looked at Callum with gratitude and began to cry with the release of fear and grief. Freya asked if she could hug her, and the embrace helped something inside Alara begin to heal. She thanked Callum, saying he had saved her. He answered that she owed nothing and that he was only glad she found them. Yet both sensed that what had happened was not only rescue but the beginning of something new. What about you? Kayum Signed. His eyes gentle but searching. Alara hesitated, then let the words flow through her hands. You mentioned losing your mother 2 years ago. Seberistrok, she was only 53. It was just the two of us after that. My father walked out when I was little, couldn't cope with a deaf daughter. Mum learned sign language from scratch. She fought for me at every school meeting, interpreted for me everywhere, became my voice when the world wouldn't listen. She was my fiercest ally, my closest friend. When she did, I lost the one person who truly saw me. Until now. Something unspoken passed between them in the quiet of the cafe. Recognition, understanding, the sense that some greater force had guided her through those doors that night. 6 months later, on a cool spring evening, Callum stood outside Alara's flat in Ashbourne, clutching a bunch of sunflowers, her favorite, he'd discovered early on. His heart hammered harder than it had the night they met, but this time the fear was laced with hope. When Alara opened the door, surprise melted into curiosity. What are you doing here? Is Freya all right? Freya's fine. She's with my mum tonight. I'm here because there's something I need to say. He stepped inside, handed her the flowers. She placed them carefully on the counter. What is it? Callum drew a steadying breath. This might feel sudden, but I've known it for months. I think I fell in love with you somewhere between that first night and now. I was afraid to say it, worried you'd think it was just gratitude, or pity, or too soon. But life's too fragile to stay silent out of fear. You taught me that. You walked into that cafe 6 months ago, carrying nothing but raw courage, and you changed everything. You brought color back into my days. You gave Freya someone who truly understands her. You reminded me it's okay to want something for myself again. And what I want is you. Alara's eyes shone with tears, but a radiant smile broke across her face. It's not sudden at all. I've been waiting for you to say it. I fell in love with you the third Saturday when Freya signed my name wrong and you corrected her so patiently. I fell harder when you stayed up until 3 in the morning texting me through a panic attack. I knew for certain the moment I realized every future I imagine has you and Freya in it. Callum closed the space between them and pulled her close. They stood in her small kitchen, arms wrapped tight, sunflowers glowing quietly on the counter. When they parted, Callum signed with a soft grin. "There's someone else who has a question for you." Right on cue. A knock sounded at the door. Ilara opened it to find Freya standing there, clutching a glitter-drenched handmade card. "Surprise!" Freya shouted, then switched straight to careful signs. "We love you. Will you be part of our family?" Behind her, Callum's mother beamed, clearly the willing accomplice. Ilara dropped to her knees, scooped Freya into her arms card, glitter and all, and the 4 of them clustered in the doorway, a family already forming. 3 months later, on a quiet Tuesday night after Freya was tucked in, Callum sat opposite Ilara in his living room. The weight in his eyes was heavier than she'd ever seen. "There's something I need to tell you," he signed. "Something I should have said sooner. I've been scared." "What is it?" "The doctors say Freya will likely lose her hearing completely by her teenage years. Maybe sooner. We can't predict exactly when, but it's coming. My little girl is going to become deaf." The signs hung heavy in the air. Ilara thought of Bright, singing Freya of cartoon voices and silly songs in the car. "That's why she's learning sign language," Ilara signed slowly. "You've been preparing her?" Callum nodded, tears slipping free. "I didn't know how to tell you. I was terrified you'd think I only wanted you for what you could give her. But that's not true. I love you for you. Yet I also know she'll need someone who's walked this path. Someone who can show her a deaf life can still be full, rich, beautiful. I'm frightened, Ilara, terrified of watching her lose something so precious and being powerless to stop it. I learned signs from my brother, but this is my daughter. I don't know how to prepare her for a silence she has never known, for a world that might not make space for her." Ilara reached across, stilled his trembling hands with hers, then signed deliberately. "When I was 7, I woke one morning and the world had gone quiet. No birds outside my window. No traffic. I screamed, but couldn't hear myself. I thought I'd died, trapped in some endless nightmare. For years, I grieved music I'd never hear again. Laughter, my mother's voice reading stories. I was furious, lost. I felt broken. But then I discovered silence has its own beauty. My hands could say more than words ever had. Being deaf didn't make me less. It made me different. It gave me strength I never expected. Freya will grieve, and that's all right. It's part of it, but she'll also discover a new world. One I can guide her through. I can show her how to listen with her eyes, speak with her hands, feel music through vibrations in her chest. I can introduce her to a vibrant deaf community full of people who will understand her completely. Most of all, I can prove to her what you are most afraid she won't. Believe that she can still be happy. She can fall in love, chase dreams, feel whole, because I am whole. My deafness is part of me, not the whole of me, and hers won't define her either." Callum broke. He pulled Ilara close, holding her as if she were the only anchor in a storm. When he finally drew back, his hands shook as he signed. "I thought I saved you that night in the cafe, but maybe you were the one sent to save us. Maybe we were meant to save each other." From then on, everything sharpened into focus. Ilara poured herself into preparing Freya, not with dread, but with joy. She turned sign language into a secret superpower. Weekends became adventures. Deaf community picnics in the Peak District. Storytelling events where performers painted pictures with their bodies in ways spoken words never could. "Daddy, look," Freya signed one Saturday, practically vibrating. "I made a new friend called Oliver. He taught me butterfly, rainbow, and best friends forever." Callum watched his daughter bloom, unafraid, and felt the knot of fear in his chest loosen. It would never vanish completely, but it no longer choked him. Freya wasn't just learning to cope with deafness. She was learning she belonged. Elora taught practical magic to placing tiny hands-on speakers to feel bathroom, using visual timers, turning everything into play. One evening, she brought a small keyboard. "Feel this," she signed, striking a low note. Freya pressed her palm to the wood, eyes huge. "It tickles." Again, that night as Callum tucked her in, Freya signed sleepily. "Miss Alara says, music lives in your heart, not your ears." "I like that, Daddy." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." Months slipped by like gentle chapters. Freya's hearing faded gradually, but she met it with the fearless adaptability of childhood and the fierce love of two adults who would move mountains for her. She got hearing aids, decorated them with sparkly stickers, and called them her magic ears. When classmates asked, she explained proudly. A few children were unkind, but Alara was ready. "Some people fear what they don't understand," she signed one afternoon. "That's their problem, not yours. Never shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Be exactly who you are. The right people will see how brilliant you are." Freya hugged her fiercely. "You're the best, Miss Alara. I'm glad Daddy found you. I'm glad I found both of you." Exactly 1 year after that terrifying autumn evening, Callum brought Ilara and Freya back to the Lantern Cafe. They claimed the same window table where everything had begun. Freya, now 5 and sporting her glittering hearing aids, had chicken nuggets arranged into a smiley face. But this time there was no terror. Only warmth. "Daddy," Freya tugged his sleeve. "Can I say something to Miss Alara? I practiced loads." "Go on, love." Freya turned, face scrunched in concentration, and signed slowly, deliberately. "Thank you for teaching me. I'm not scared anymore. I love you." Alara's hand flew to her mouth. Tears spilled as she gathered Freya close. "I love you, too. So much. Much." Callum watched them, his daughter and the woman who had become his heart, crying, laughing, signing, holding each other. He thought about fate, about every fragile thread that had to align. Alara forgetting her phone, choosing this cafe, him bringing Freya that night, learning signs years earlier for his brother. Change one detail and they might never have met. But they had, against every odd, through fear and loss and grief, they had found one another. He'd once believed he was the rescuer that night. The truth was far more beautiful. Ilara had saved them too, from isolation, from dread, from carrying unbearable weight alone. They had saved each other, and in that saving, they had built something extraordinary. A family bound not by blood or perfect circumstances, but by deep understanding, deliberate choice, and the quiet, powerful language of hands that speak straight to the soul. So here's the question that lingers long after the story ends. When life brings you face to face with someone who truly sees you, someone who arrives exactly when you need them most, do you believe it as chance or something far greater at work?